Hello everybody, welcome back to the Magical Jill channel. It is Jay, Jill's husband, and I wanted to drop a video here about Dragon Ball. Now Jill has been a little busy, she is starting a new job again, so we got a lot of stuff going on, so this is just me tackling it for my good old boy, Son Goku. Now if the cartel ever comes for me, point to this video, I'm an ally of Goku. It's like being protected by the Pope or something, I think, right? But anyways, Dragon Ball is actually doing incredibly well. We've talked in the past before on this channel about Dragon Ball a lot. I love Dragon Ball, just finished watching Daima, and actually that means that I am through the entirety of the modern canon of Dragon Ball in terms of like, you know, the newer canon with Super and all that stuff. Now I'm going back and I'm rewatching through all of the original Toei continuity, and that is going to be a big thing with a lot of movies. But we're big fans of Dragon Ball here, and it turns out that a lot of other people are too. I know, shocker, one of the most popular media franchises of all time is popular, but I think it's actually kind of a shocker how well the video games are doing. You know, and we're going to talk about that today because recently there's been a new milestone as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot actually passed 10 million copies sold worldwide, which is pretty crazy. To give you a point of comparison, for a small horror game of an established franchise like Silent Hill, the Silent Hill 2 remake, I think it sold something like at 3 million units or something like that. It was already considered a success, or 2.5 million. So depending on what you put into these games, 10 million units is a ton, especially for an anime game. You have to understand, anime did, at least when I was a kid, exist as a niche in terms of Western audiences and audiences outside of Japan. We've hit the point where you can sell millions of copies of Dragon Ball games worldwide outside of Japan, and they do incredibly well. So we're gonna take a look at this today for a couple minutes, but I do have a question of the day for you, which is, what do you think is the best or the most iconic, whatever you want to, choose to answer here, Dragon Ball video game? There's a lot of Dragon Ball games I have not gotten the chance to play because I got into Dragon Ball later in my life. I say that like I'm dying, but I'm 31. And I started getting into Dragon Ball a little bit in college and then much more so in the last couple of years. So I'd love to hear what you think some of the best are and some of the games you think I should try. Some of the ones I've enjoyed are the original Budokai games, and most recently I've been playing a lot of Sparking Zero. But the interesting thing about this is that all three of these huge Dragon Ball games have now passed 10 million units. That's Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which I think it's also worth noting some of these had the, I wouldn't say privilege, but like benefit of being released again on a more modern platform. Like they came out on PS4, then they came out on PS5 again. So that certainly helped, right? And then, of course, as well, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot also has passed 10 million units. And this is also in an era where it's worth mentioning, I believe the Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, the more recent Broly incarnation, that movie made something like $124 or $125 million in terms of grossing revenue worldwide. So Dragon Ball is huge right now. Now, we've talked as well about things like the Dragon Ball games before, and the fact that there are things that they definitely ignore and don't do, which is unfortunate. Like, for example, I've made shorts on this channel and talked about things like how they don't incorporate some of the storylines from like the filler anime stuff from Toei, or how they don't want to use things from some of the movies. Like they'll put in something like a GT character as a character on a roster for single fight. They won't want to incorporate them in the story. I think that stuff's unfortunate because these games are all in their own continuities anyway, pretty much. It's not to say, like, when we're talking about this, the Dragon Ball games are perfect or anything. There were 5 million units sold just in, like, a little bit for Sparking Zero. So I don't know how well that game is doing right now, but I do know it's doing very well. So if you're looking at it, even if it's stalled there, you had like 10 million units sold and a 5 million units sold batch of games. That's really good, right? And it's kind of a mixed bag. Like I'm happy that they're doing well. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy they're doing well. Like I really enjoyed FighterZ from what I played of it. I'm not someone who can play online and beat people, I just get my ass kicked. I've been looking forward to playing more Xenoverse. I've just only dabbled in those games. And in terms of Kakarot, it's a really good recreation of like the Dragon Ball, I would say, anime canon or continuity, the new one, you know, because it gets complicated. I bring it up every single video. There's like the original Toriyama continuity with all of the books and everything. There's the Toei continuity where even though half the movies don't fit into that continuity, Toei considered them in canon to their continuity. And so they would bring them back up in things like GT, you know, things like that, and have references. So they had like a messy continuity there, but it's iconic, right? Leading into GT. That was the 90s, 80s, all that. But now we have the newer anime continuity in terms of things like Dragon Ball Z Kai, the original Dragon Ball Super, Daima, a couple of movies like Broly, Superhero. It's interesting, though, that Dragon Ball is doing so well with its games, even though it isn't taking advantage of some of its most iconic stuff. Like, I would argue that Xenoverse is probably the only game sub-series in recent years that's taken advantage of all of their source material. Maybe the other one would be Dragon Ball Superheroes, you know, where that's very obviously trying to bring in everything into its own thing. But even with like just the pretty cookie cutter sticking to the basics of what the story is on screen formula that they've been trying to do in some of these games, they're still selling incredibly well. Sparking Zero, despite being kind of an unbalanced mess that I really enjoyed, and also missing a lot of opportunities, still sold really well. I guess my point is, like, that's why I'm kind of happy and not happy, because I always say you don't want to make everything by committee. You know, like, you don't want to take everybody's opinion and always like throw it in the pot and then that's what you come up with. But I do think it's foolish for things from any country to not take criticism into account. There are people who are insane with it, like, who will be like, I need Goku to represent me in this thing, that are just kind of acting crazy. I understand throwing those people's opinions out and kind of not caring. But in terms of things like balancing, in terms of things like character rosters, storytelling, there is a lot of worldwide criticism and criticism from within Japan for these games that I think is not going to be cared about because they're selling so well. So that's kind of why I'm like on the fence with this. I'm like, this is really cool. I love seeing Dragon Ball do so well. Akira Toriyama was a great guy, great creator. I think Toyotaro is a great creator who respects Toriyama very well. I think that the people who make these games try very well to make them good. I just worry that with this success, it's a double-edged sword of, it's great to see anime being taken seriously. It's great to see people recognizing these characters. They're like household name characters now. It's great to see people accepting Dragon Ball and loving it, and it being a gateway into other anime, other manga, other types of things from, I would say, stories from throughout the world that people might miss out on due to closed-mindedness. You know, I grew up during a time where if you liked anime, you were a freak. If you liked anime, you were a virgin. You get shoved in lockers, you get pushed around, people would knock your books out of your hands. Like, literally, just like the Disney high school bully crap that you'd see on TV. It's like that times 30. That would happen to you if people found out you liked anime in like the 90s and very early 2000s in a lot of schools in America. You were just a weirdo. That's not the case anymore. You're only a weirdo if you Naruto run through the hallway and try to Kamehameha the school bully. Otherwise, it's just liking any other show for the most part. That's amazing. I love that. I love seeing it do this well. I worry, though, that it's going to be a victim of its own success, where criticism won't be taken seriously, especially from Westerners, because there's so many insane Westerners that try to criticize anime. And I worry that that could decrease the overall quality of what Dragon Ball is putting out in the coming years. Now, I would love to be proven wrong. I would love nothing more than to be proven wrong on this, because at the end of the day, I want Dragon Ball to be as good as possible. Dragon Ball kicks ass. It's amazing. I love it. Despite what any Dragon Ball editors say on the manga, I think there's a billion layers of story you can get out of this universe. I think there's so many lessons you can learn. There's so much perseverance. There's so much family, friendship, connection, second chances. It's a fantastic universe. I just don't want to see it become a victim of its own success. That is my one critique and worry about how well they're doing. But at the same time, I can't help but smile a little bit. And I hope that, you know, right now, Akira Toriyama is kind of smiling down and seeing just how much we all love this world that he created. That's, you know, what I hope. And I hope that they keep making it good. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, you want to leave a like, subscribe. We appreciate you so much. There's so many ways to support these channels. We have Patreon, you know, where we do exclusive content for a lot of our channels. We also as well do have our own store, cosmobunny.shop, where we sell coasters, keychains, trays, and more. We love old media. We believe in second chances, second lives, second wins for things that otherwise couldn't have them. So what we do is we take books that are unable to be sold, we turn them into a new piece of art transformatively for your home, recycling the rest, and you can use code DJAY123 for 10% off your first purchase. Over there, we never print any images violating copyright law or anything like that. What we do is we take book pages, pamphlets, things that already exist that are pretty much on their way into landfills and make something new out of it. So discount code, actually it's discount code SAILOR for 10% off your first purchase. I used my own discount code from my channel, but I suppose that does work too. We hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!